Let's be honest. Writing a first novel can feel like the worst mistake of your life. There's this pressure to sound brilliant, and then you have to keep it up for at least 50,000 words, if not 100,000. This is why first novels usually take several years to write. It's not enough to write some good stuff. In fact, it's not even enough to write 100,000 words of good stuff. No, you need to write a whole ton of good stuff that fits together. For the Collaborative Novel Project, what we're going to do is we're going to compress this multi-year process of drafting and planning and redrafting into a 4-week whirlwind of collaborative writing. And I won't even pretend that this is a typical or even a realistic process. Honestly, it's not even remotely possible to recreate the novel writing process within a semester, let alone 4 weeks. But what I do want to see is that each of you will come away with the experience of planning and completing a novel-length project. I want to put this emphasis on completion. There is nothing better than getting that sense of finishing something. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, you've finished it. You can always revise it later. But if it's sitting in a back drawer and the ending hasn't been written, then there's not a lot you can do with it. So, first off, I want you to experience what Joyce Carol Oates calls starting with character. Those first days of writing a character onto the page into an uncertain story. Yes, starting a novel is hard. You don't know what to write, and that's okay. You might only have a character, you might only have a snippet of a character, but you have to keep writing. Let your characters do whatever it is they need to do. Let them show you who they are through the words that you are writing on the page. Now, ideally, you'll reach a point where you feel the story pulling you forward. But we only have 4 weeks, and you're working in groups. This is why planning is important. As Justine Goldberg points out, writing a complete novel requires you to figure out how and when you write best, and then to set aside the time to do it. Does inspiration strike you right before bed? Are you more of a morning person? Do you scribble notes all throughout the day? Whichever works best for you, figure out when that is and how long you'll need to be at the computer to type the words to reach your word count. Now, you're going to find pros and cons to working in groups. The major advantage is that you'll have the support of your group members. Take it from Toni Morrison. Her first novel, The Bluest Eye, might not have ever been started if not for the push she got from a writing group. At the same time, though, each of you will have a different topic that you feel passionate about. For Morrison, her early fiction was written as a way to reveal aspects of racism that had been overlooked by other authors. And then there's Suzanne Collins, who had to force herself to write the difficult scenes in the Hunger Games where teenagers are killing other teenagers. That's the kind of story she was writing. Those are the kinds of scenes she needed to write. As individual writers, each of you will need to find your own personal focus. What is it that drives you as a writer? My hope is that as you're doing this, you'll experience something similar to J.K. Rowling's first years of writing Harry Potter, when she found that the character of the boy wizard was just too important to stop writing. But first, you'll have to write your characters to life, drafting out ideas of all kinds until you find the right one. And then you'll need to delegate. You'll need to work out which of your group members will write which scenes, which chapters. These are individual housekeeping tasks which seem boring at times, but they are critical for reaching the completion stage of your project. And then, of course, dealing with my favorite part of writing, dealing with change. When you figure out, that splendid moment of finding out that chapter 6 and chapter 7 don't fit together. Or when you discover that the heroic little girl who's going to save the day sounds way too old for a 12-year-old. That, though, is the nature of novel writing, and you won't have time to fix everything in this draft. You'll have to keep going. And in 4 weeks, you're going to turn in a 50,000 word novel written by all of your group members. Not a collection of short stories, not a series of short stories woven together. A novel with a beginning, a middle, and, yes, most importantly, an ending.